Imagine trying to shrink a 3,000-year-old ancestral tradition so it fits perfectly into the overhead bin of a Boeing 747.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a visual.
Right. Or trying to translate an ancient rain dance into something you can play on a plastic electronic keyboard. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are so glad you are here with us for this journey.
We really are. It's a fascinating one today.
It really is. Usually when people discuss a country's cultural heritage, they tend to treat it like, a fragile artifact.
Right, like something you'd see in a museum.
Exactly. You put it behind velvet ropes, you dim the lights to protect the paint, and you just desperately try to keep it perfectly static forever.
Yeah, and it becomes this exercise in taxidermy. You are preserving a snapshot of a past that doesn't actually exist in the breathing world anymore.
But then you look at a place like Namibia, the velvet ropes completely disappear. We are looking at a cultural ecosystem that is entirely alive.
Completely alive.
And it's fiercely navigating the friction between preserving ancient millennia-old indigenous heritage and building a modern, sustainable economic future. Strictly through a cultural lens, of course.
It's a remarkable balancing act, really. And what makes it so compelling is that Namibians are navigating this strictly on their own terms. We're observing a masterclass in adaptation.
Okay, so let's unpack how they are actually doing this. We've got a fantastic stack of sources guiding our deep dive today.
Some really great reading in there.
Yeah, we're pulling insights from UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage Report, an incredibly detailed EU report analyzing the Namibian craft sector.
Which is packed with data, by the way.
Oh, so much data. Plus a guide to a major contemporary Namibian art exhibition and several immersive cultural and culinary travel blogs. Our mission today is to explore this balancing act entirely through an artistic and cultural lens. We want to look at the actual mechanisms of survival.
And survival here is twofold, right? Because it is about physical survival in one of the world's most unforgiving desert environments.
Yeah.
But equally, it's about the survival of identity in a rapidly globalizing world.
Right, which brings us to the bedrock of this whole thing. To understand that survival, we have to go back to the very foundation.
The ancient communities.
Yes, communities whose entire knowledge systems were forged over thousands of years in those harsh environments. Take the Sandbushmen, for example.
Well, the Sandbush were fascinating. They're widely considered the world's oldest indigenous tribe.
Wow, the oldest.
Yeah. As the traditional hunter-gatherers of the Kalahari Desert, their connection to the environment isn't just, spiritual. It's highly empirical.
Empirical? How so?
Well, it's a deep ecological database that has literally been passed down through millennia. You can still see this data documented in their rock paintings, some of which are tens of thousands of years old.
Wait, so the paintings aren't just art?
No, not at all. These weren't just decorative. They were early data storage about, animal migrations and hidden water sources.
That is staggering to conceptualize. Tens of thousands of years of data storage.
It really is.
And alongside the sand, our sources highlight the Himba people. They are known for their semi-nomadic lifestyle, their deep connection to cattle farming, and their highly distinctive appearance.
Right, the Ajais.
Exactly. They apply this mixture of red clay and butter Ajais to their skin and hair. Now, from an outsider's perspective, this might just look like a striking aesthetic tradition, like a beauty standard.
It is beautiful, but the mechanics of that tradition are pure desert technology.
Desert technology. I love that phrasing.
Well, think about it. Water is incredibly scarce there, so washing with water just isn't always an option. That clay and butter mixture acts as a highly effective, water-free hygiene practice.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, and furthermore, it serves as a natural sunscreen against the brutal desert sun, and it acts as a potent insect repellent. It is a perfect example of a cultural practice born out of absolute environmental necessity.
Okay, so we've established that these ancient traditions are essentially survival tools. Now let's look at how a tool like that is managed today.
Right.
The UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage List recently recognized a very specific tradition from another indigenous group, the Nama people.
Yes, the Aboxen music. It translates to the ancestral musical sound of the Nama people.
The mechanics of this music are just fascinating. It uses traditional instruments like the cob, which is a type of musical bow, and a dutsib, a traditional guitar. There's also the vleis, a kind of harmonica typically played by women. And all of this instrumentation is accompanied by complex singing, humming, ululating, in a very specific dance.
The Nama dance, yeah. And this is where we really have to look past the performance aspect.
What do you mean?
Well, while this music provides entertainment during social occasions,
Yeah.
Like weddings or rain dances, it's primary. Critical function is community instruction.
Okay.
It is the vehicle used to teach environmental awareness and moral values to the youth.
Okay, I want to stop you right there because this is where my brain just gets stuck. How exactly does a song teach environmental awareness? Are we just talking about like lyrics that say, don't eat the poisonous berries?
Oh no, it is far more sophisticated than that.
Mhm.
Think of the music as a mnemonic device. It's not just the lyrics. The actual rhythmic structure mimics the sound of seasonal weather patterns.
Wait, really? The rhythm itself is the weather?
Exactly. The specific humming and ululating act as acoustic maps. By participating in the complex rhythm, a child internalizes the exact sequence of ecological signs that precede a drought or a flash flood.
Oh, wow.
Right. If you live in an arid, unforgiving environment, recognizing those signs isn't just a nice idea, it's literally a matter of life and death. The music is the hard drive where that crucial data is stored.
Okay, that completely reframes it for me. It's an active survival manual encoded in sound.
Precisely.
But here is where the story hits a massive speed bump and where I actually have to offer some real pushback on this UNESCO report.
Let's hear it.
So the report details a major recent revitalization effort for this music, right? Because the tradition was critically endangered. Only a few elders still knew how to play it.
Yeah, it's fading fast.
So they contracted 19 conductors across 7 villages to teach the youth. But to do this, they used funding to purchase modern instruments. We're talking about accordions, electronic keyboards, and modern marimbas.
They did, yeah.
So my question to you is, doesn't this completely destroy the authenticity of a millennia-old tradition? Like, if you introduce an electronic keyboard to save an ancient rain dance, haven't you already lost the very thing you were trying to preserve?
That is exactly what cultural purists often argue, and honestly, your pushback is completely valid.
Yeah.
It feels like a massive paradox.
It really does.
But you have to look at how the Nama community themselves view the music. The UNESCO perspective, which is driven by the community executing this project, is that the function of the music is the heritage.
The function, not the object.
Right. The gathering of the community, the transmission of that ecological knowledge, the social cohesion that is the actual tradition. The physical instrument is just the delivery mechanism.
So the message matters way more than the medium.
Exactly. I mean, if the youth were entirely disengaged because the old instruments were broken or difficult to make, or frankly, just seen as uncool, introducing an accordion or a keyboard acts as a vital bridge.
That makes sense. It gets them playing.
It gets young hands making those ancestral rhythms again. It keeps the data flowing. True preservation, at least in this context, demands radical adaptability.
Radical adaptability, I like that. The heartbeat has to remain the same, even if the drum looks a little different.
Precisely.
And, that necessity for radical adaptability is a perfect bridge into the tangible heritage of Namibia, the physical crafts.
Oh yeah, the craft sector is going through a massive shift right now.
Exactly, because the actual physical objects people make in Namibia are currently undergoing a massive and sometimes painful transition from traditional everyday utility into a modern economic engine.
The EU report on the Namibian craft sector outlines just how incredibly diverse this space is. You have intricately woven kwe and kavango baskets, delicate jewelry crafted from ostrich eggshells.
Ostrich eggshells, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's stunning work. Plus scarves woven from Kalahari wild silk and beautifully carved Makalani nuts. Historically, these were highly functional items or they were specific tribal identifiers.
Right.
But today, they're the vital economic lifeblood for thousands of families.
And the government is heavily leaning into this reality, right? Their National Development Plan, known as NDP-5, set a staggering target to dramatically increase employment in the arts and culture sector.
Yeah, the numbers were huge.
They were aiming for 58,000 jobs by 2022. They view these ancient crafts as a direct, actionable way to integrate rural and marginalized communities into the modern economy.
But that integration comes with severe friction. I mean, the EU report highlights a profound generational disconnect.
How so?
Well, many youths view traditional crafts as a relic of the past.
Yeah.
They're, hesitant to learn the painstaking skills of basket weaving or nut carving because they'd rather seek modern urban employment in the cities?
Which is an incredibly common global phenomenon, to be fair.
Absolutely.
But for the artisans who do stay in the sector, it feels less like a traditional guild and much more like, I don't know, open source software development.
Open source software, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Think about it. You have thousands of independent producers, mostly operating in rural areas. The open source code they're using consists of ancient shared weaving and carving techniques.
Well, I see where you're going.
Yeah, they take that code, they build their own unique physical product, and then they try to launch it into a global marketplace.
That analogy holds up really well, actually. Especially when you look at the platforms they use to distribute those products.
Right, like the craft centers.
Yeah, the Namibia Craft Center in Windhoek acts as this massive centralized hub, supporting over 4,000 artisans across the country. And then you have smaller, agile setups, like the Artisan Arcade in Swakopmund.
I read about that one.
It's a collaborative space where a handful of artisans share resources, rent, and visibility. The entrepreneurial resilience is just remarkable.
But operating in that global marketplace is brutal. I want you listening to imagine a scenario for a second. Imagine you are an artisan. Your family has made heavy, magnificent, functional, water-carrying baskets for generations.
It's your entire identity.
Exactly, it is your identity. But suddenly, your ability to put food on the table depends entirely on foreign tourists, who only have space in their luggage for small coasters or keychains. What do you choose? Do you uphold the grand tradition of a large basket, or do you shrink your heritage to fit the market?
The economic pressure forces the decision. I mean, the EU report specifically notes that artisans are routinely forced to alter their traditional outputs entirely based on global tourism logistics. They basically have to miniaturize their heritage.
Miniaturize their heritage, wow.
But the pressure goes even deeper than luggage size. There are actual rigid legal barriers dictating what a Namibian artisan can create.
Right, the export bans. This blew my mind when I read it. Explain to the listener why an artisan in rural Namibia has to care about a customs agent in Berlin or Sydney.
It all comes down to strict global biosecurity laws.
Biosecurity.
Yeah. Certain traditional materials are completely banned from entering specific countries to prevent the spread of invasive species or agricultural diseases.
Which makes sense on paper.
It does.
Wow.
But practically, if an artisan weaves a basket using certain local seeds, untreated woods, or traditional animal leathers, a tourist from Australia or Germany simply won't buy it. They know their customs agencies will confiscate and destroy it at the border.
So a biosecurity law thousands of miles away is actively editing the physical composition of an ancient African craft.
That's exactly what's happening.
The artisan has to abandon their ancestral materials and substitute them with something internationally compliant. It's wild, but if global tourists and international laws are dictating the shape and material of Namibian baskets, their presence is also fundamentally altering the local markets where those artisans shop and eat.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's look at what happens when these massive economic forces collide on a dinner plate.
Cuisine is perhaps the most universal expression of culture. It is where history, geography, and economics literally sustain the population. Namibian food is a highly visible, highly tangible record of the nation's survival.
Okay, let's start in the bustling streets. If you head to the Ashatu market in the Katutura township near Windhoek, your senses are going to be overwhelmed by kapana.
Oh, kapana. It's incredible.
It is the ultimate thriving street food. Just juicy, smoky, chili-spiced beef strips grilled right in front of you over an open fire. It's the vibrant pulse of the modern city.
It really is. But step back from the grill for a second and look at the indigenous staples that have kept people alive for centuries. You have oshithima, which is a dense, thick porridge made from pearl millet locally called mahangu and maize.
And we really have to explain why pearl millet is so crucial here. It's not just a flavor preference.
Far from it.
Pearl millet is an extreme survival crop. It can grow in highly arid, depleted soils where wheat or corn would just instantly wither and die.
Precisely. It is pure agricultural resilience. You also have oshigali, a creamy white bean puree that is heavily enriched with marula oil.
Which is super high in calories, right?
Yes. Marula oil provides an incredible density of essential fats and calories.
Yeah.
And then there is oshikwila, a hearty millet pancake that was traditionally baked specifically to fuel school children for long, grueling walks to school across harsh terrain.
Now drop right into the middle of that indigenous desert-adapted diet, the heavy culinary footprints of European settlers.
Right, the fusion element.
Exactly. Suddenly you have pochecos. Imagine a massive, three-legged cast iron pot, originating from the Netherlands, brought over by settlers, sitting over an open fire in the Namibian desert. Inside is an incredibly rich, slow-cooked meat and vegetable stew.
A classic.
You also have boerewors, a heavily spiced farmer's sausage, and of course, biltong, the famous air-dried, cured meat.
When you lay all of these foods out on a table, you are looking at the pragmatic fusion of survival techniques. You have indigenous staples perfectly adapted to grow in drought conditions, completely intertwined with the preservation techniques of early European settlers.
Because those settlers were also trying to survive.
Exactly. They needed to cure meat and slow-cook tough cuts in iron pots to survive months-long journeys across an unforgiving landscape. It is a cuisine forged entirely by the demands of the environment.
But this raises a major question about the modern Namibian lifestyle. Traditional diets here rely heavily on preserved meats, incredibly dense carbohydrates, and heavy stews. As we just discussed, those foods were engineered for grueling physical survival. How on earth does that high-calorie culinary heritage fit into an increasingly urbanized modern lifestyle where someone might just be, commuting to work at a desk in Windhoek?
That is the exact physiological and cultural paradox that many rapidly urbanizing nations face. I mean, the caloric density that kept your great-grandparents alive during a drought can become a serious health challenge if you live a modern, sedentary lifestyle.
Of course.
Yet culturally, that heavy, traditional food represents home. It represents comfort and deep identity.
So how do they reconcile it? If you can't eat it every day, what happens to the food culture?
Through adaptation, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
What you see happening in urban centers is a shift in consumption patterns. The portion sizes change. These heavy, traditional meals are often consumed less frequently, giving way to modern convenience foods during the busy work week.
That makes sense.
However, the traditional dishes are elevated during weekends, social gatherings, and at specialized places like the Akswama traditional restaurant in Windhoek. Eating oshithama, or pochekos, becomes a deliberate, ceremonial act of connection to the past, rather than just daily nutritional fuel.
So it shifts from fuel to ceremony.
Exactly.
If their diet is shifting to accommodate modern office jobs and city living, how is their mindset shifting? How is the current generation of urban Namibians digesting all of this heritage, the music, the shrinking crafts, the evolving food, and creating something fresh?
That's the big question.
Let's transition to the modern canvas.
This is a critical pivot point for the culture. We are seeing the post-independence generation take full ownership of their narrative. Namibia gained its independence in 1990.
Which isn't that long ago, historically speaking.
Not at all. That means we now have an entire generation of adults, artists, and creators who have only ever known a free, independent Namibia.
And we get a brilliant, unfiltered look at their mindset through a major exhibition held at the Musée Worth called Namibia, the Art of a Young Generation.
It's a fantastic showcase.
This exhibition featured 40 contemporary artists who all grew up post-1990. And what is so striking is how their art serves as a literal physical bridge between the ancient and the hypermodern.
A bridge generation.
Yeah, you have artists utilizing deeply traditional methods like intricate quilting and displaying them directly alongside aggressively modern techniques.
A really great example from the exhibition is the use of flexography.
Hold on, break that down for us. What actually is flexography in this context?
Right, so flexography is essentially a modern, high-speed rotary printing process. It utilizes flexible relief plates, commonly used for printing on mass-produced packaging, like cardboard boxes or plastic bags.
It's very industrial.
Highly industrial. So you have artists taking this industrial mass-market printing technique and using it alongside the recycling of urban trash. It's a stark visual contrast to the organic, natural materials used in traditional basket weaving or nut carving.
The thematic shifts in this exhibition are just as jarring as the materials, too. The sources describe two distinct artistic impulses happening at the exact same time.
Right.
On one side, you have artists deeply focused on preserving the memory of the Namibian landscape and holding on to indigenous spiritual identity. It feels almost like a protective, nostalgic impulse, a desire to remember where they came from.
But then on the other side, you have artists tackling immediate, aggressively modern issues. They aren't looking at the ancient past. They are making art about global overconsumption, stark social inequality in the cities, and modern communication breakdowns.
And you can feel that distinctly modern energy bubbling up in the cities themselves. Our travel sources highlight a thriving urban culture, pointing specifically to events like the open mic nights at Cafe Prestige in Windhoek.
It sounds like a great scene.
It does. It's a free event, people are drinking wine, and young Namibians are sharing spoken word poetry and contemporary music. It is a completely modern, cosmopolitan social scene. So I have to pose this synthesizing question to you.
Okay, let's hear it.
Are these modern expressions like a spoken word poem at a wine bar in Windhoek or an industrial flexography art piece commenting on overconsumption? Are they a fundamental break from the ancient tribal traditions we started this deep dive with? Or are they simply the newest chapter in the exact same book of Namibian storytelling?
Analytically speaking, they are absolutely the newest chapter. This post-1990 generation is functioning as a vital cultural bridge. They aren't abandoning their heritage at all.
They're just translating it.
Exactly. They're taking the fundamental artistic impulse of their ancestors, the data recording urge of the sandrock painters, the rhythmic communication of the Nama, the material resourcefulness of the basket weavers, and they're using those exact same internal mechanisms to process the rapid socioeconomic realities of a newly independent globalized nation.
Wow.
The medium has changed from rock walls to canvas, from musical bows to microphones, but the imperative to record, question, and communicate their reality remains exactly the same.
It's just a different kind of survival data being recorded.
Precisely. They are surviving the complexities of the modern world using the creative resilience passed down from their ancestors.
Man, what a spectacular arc. Let's bring this journey full circle for you listening. We started in the deep ancient sands of the Kalahari, exploring the empirical survival data painted on rock walls by the Sand Bushmen and the deeply protective educational rhythms of Nama music.
Ancient knowledge systems.
Yeah. We saw how those ancient mechanisms of survival translate into the bustling, complex world of traditional crafts, where ancient weaving techniques are fighting to survive the intense pressures of global tourism and international biosecurity laws.
The miniaturization of heritage.
We tasted the profound pragmatism of a nation through a culinary fusion of indigenous drought-resistant crops and settler preservation techniques. And finally, we arrived in the modern art galleries and vibrant open mic nights of Windhoek, where a post-independence generation is furiously, creatively writing their own future.
It is a profound, living testament to human adaptability. They aren't just holding on to the past, they're actively putting it to work.
They really are. And I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over today. Think about the philosophical paradox known as the ship of Theseus.
Oh, I love this one.
Right. It's the idea that if you replace every single wooden plank on a ship over time, is it still the same ship? Apply that to culture. If intangible heritage must constantly adapt to survive, if a rain dance has to be played on a plastic electronic keyboard, or if an ancestral basket has to be shrunk to fit in a suitcase and woven from different materials to pass Australian customs, at what point does it cease to be an ancient tradition and become an entirely new culture? Can true living preservation only ever be achieved through constant, relentless evolution?
It forces us to completely redefine what the word authentic actually means.
It absolutely does. We are so glad you could join us for this journey today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for bringing your curiosity. And we will see you on the next deep dive. Goodbye.